Welcome again to Wickerson Studios. I have hit another plateau that I'm feeling very confident on. And as you can tell by this screen, I am working within Python into using Rhino script syntax and Rhino common namespaces when appropriate, but right now the scripts are pretty simple. They are being run through nodes that are being modified from the Grasshopper window and using the GH Python node. I've brought in some additional inputs and certainly hint types to make this more exciting. That is running in Rhino, which is actually the Rhino Inside version in Revit. So I'm leaving most of these scripts as beginner scripts from Python to what you then could start playing with within Revit. And although the final image, as you can see here, is in Revit, and can be moved around. I also have the ability to update that very quickly within the Python node. And I'm not actually sending these detailed videos to YouTube anymore, and that's in honor and respect for the patrons I'm starting to garner interest in on my Patreon site. So I will go into detail and show the modifications of these simple scripts, which stem from the beginning scripts in the GH Python node Chinese text I began work on and started a forum group for a month ago. I will be sending information over to continue, but for detailed discussions and why I chose to modify the Python script in the way I did, what are my intentions, I'll leave that up for people that really I can take the time to work with. And there's you can always follow it, but you can also get early access and see about the updates that are happening on the Patreon and have a chat community, which I'll link to Discord. But this seems to be the Patreon group that's growing, and that's the one that has access to the more detailed videos as I break them down and show and talk decisively, probably between 15 and 20 minutes of video. They might be shorter. And then you'll have access to the GH files and the 3DM files that are generated and the Revit files, I should say. I need to update that because I'm working in Revit. And because those are all linked with Rhino Inside, I think this is going to be pretty exciting, and those will be private files coming out on my GitHub account, Michael Wickerson. Of course, I've maintained all my other things I've done on YouTube for the past 3 months solid or more. And then the final tiers for those that actually want to have a dialogue outside of the chats, that's actually a one-on-one consultation to the things they might be deciding to do. And I'd ask that to be more of a conversation, maybe not technically driven towards how to code, how to script, how to do that. It'll be more of a, I don't know if it's philosophical in a sense of talking about what a member has reached out to me and said, and asked the questions of what is the flow and what is the rhythm of Grasshopper. And I think this is really where we start to move from the technical aspects of everything here into possibly, the creativity that finds its way into this medium. And without getting too exasperated like I do in some of my videos when I get thrilled to work in a variety of things, I'll just jump back into here and pull up my Revit, pull up my Rhino. It gets really creative real fast. So I start to play off of, what would be my intention. I do like the kind of delay as we go into Revit, and as it's almost like Revit is a tool for architects and engineers to say, is that even feasible, what they're trying to do in the Rhino window? And I will put these into pretty interesting nodes. Like I said, I'm expanding the script and showing the details of it to those members. And I won't be just, translating the script of what it was. I'll try and do some type of modification or something creative with it. And this one kind of lacks that with a few of these things I've brought in as what I've referred to as MD1 and MD2, which allow you to have more of a funky kind of jittery, wiggly effect on here. And that's just something dealing with a little bit of maths. And that's just because, you can do that without even importing in the math or the randoms. You can actually have some pretty cool control. Of course, it doesn't update as fast in Revit, but you can see from the Rhino window down here, I'll just expand my, maybe my, this view. And basically, you can see how those have kind of a strange weird living effect of choosing where to grow in different directions. And I may end up using some jitters and some randoms and some creativity that I normally can visualize in Grasshopper node scripting. But this has come from studying, looking at the giants in the field, trying to get into programming, trying to interlink these. And I'm finding my common ground, which I think so many of us do, of what you're comfortable with. And although I had a real desire to move all Rhino script syntax into different namespaces in Rhino Common, there is an efficiency to working in and memorizing those scripts. And the farther you go kind of deeper, the farther I find myself getting away from geometries that might prove interesting and what I may actually find a way to generate as a something worth creating. And I like this Revit filter to say, okay, that's completely manufacturable. And with Scott Davidson's work, you can see all the functions on Rhino inside to import and export things back and forth from Rhino to Revit. And slowly and steady, I think I'm progressing as a developer. And still there in the back of my mind is Revit, it's Dynamo, it's generative methods for making, and then also trying to follow the work of Jeremy Graham and Dan El-Nagy and all these other individuals online. There's a slew of them that I can't wait for their next LinkedIn video tutorials. There's ones on Future Learn, and this is a hard time coming for me. It's been something I started, and I'm very excited to see where it develops. I have many concepts and ideas over the years in my mind that I've articulated and built, but now to start to apply those to the technologies that are there for you. For instance, jumping into something like Revit and realizing that deep within this on the, not the add-ins, but the managed tools, these creating studies and starting to divide my parameters that could actually take places and getting in a little more into the Dynamo script. And that's come from the interest in Revit that's started to emerge because of Rhino inside. And because my practice has come from Grasshopper, I think those that want to have a mind for that or started in node scripting and visualize that, you're going to find these scripts walk you through the procedure of those left to right. What do you have to do? You get to copy an object and move it. You're going to grab the sides of, you're going to grab the edges of those brep surfaces. You're going to loft them together. You're going to join those surfaces. Like this starts to make an awful lot of sense in the functions of Rhino script syntax for how you normally would have drawn out a fairly long script and then clustered it into something for yourself. But because the Revit is here to extend out farther, and you end up moving into here and finding out, in the elements, what you can use by element geometry. And I think there's another very good source in here that I'm digging into a little bit, the inputs of the built-in parameter pickers, the model category pickers. This is going to allow things to become architectural very quickly. So somewhere between Archistar Academy, I would encourage people to go in there and learn as much as they can at the base level. And think of this as with certainly interest in watching tutorials and people like Junichiro Horikawa, and I hope I said his name right, the ability to work in Houdini and C# all the time. Lon Newing's work on generative algorithms and growth algorithms in C#. It's a nonstop, digging and exploring, researching, developing, and trying to be creative through it. So I'm sending this little base video out for those that are becoming members of the Patreon. I'll go into full detail on these things, but I wanted to outline what the direction is of where I'm starting to go. Keep in mind, I'll keep the YouTube going and everything else as well. Michael Wickerson, Wickerson Studios, Computational Design Development. Thank you very much for watching.